So let's talk about AT&T, everybody. T-Mobile's parent company gets a consolation prize, but how valuable is it really? AT&T is going to have to pay $3 billion in cash to Deutsche Telekom and also give the company about $1 billion of wireless spectrum in mobile markets. With us now from Bonn, Germany, the CEO of Deutsche Telekom, Rene Obermann. Good morning, Rene. Thank you for joining us here on the Inside Track. It's clear, obviously, you did not want to keep T-Mobile USA, otherwise you wouldn't have entered this deal with AT&T. Now that you've been forced to keep the company, what do you do with it? Do you run it as a standalone operation? Do you try to find another buyer? Or perhaps do you take it public maybe and spin it off?
I'm afraid I can't go into any kind of speculation now here in front of the camera anyway. But the thing we're doing is very clear. We take the proceeds from these breakup conditions, which have been agreed with our partners from AT&T, some spectrum in 12 out of the top 20 markets, some cash proceeds and a national 3G roaming agreement on the network of AT&T, and we'll make the best out of that. And on the long run, however, our situation is what it is. We are spectrum scarce or spectrum constrained with regards to LTE technology, and we need to work and see whether there are other opportunities to find a long-term approach into LTE capacity, network capacity, and that is the task for the near future.
Rene, though, please give me a sense. Is your bias towards keeping the company, or do you see alternatives to running it as a standalone? Are those alternatives viable in your view?
And again, I cannot comment on any such speculation. I just can say that we have a great team in the US, and they have endured a period of uncertainty. And you know, these people have done an outstanding job under the current circumstances.
Understood.
I will not entertain any speculation.
I don't want to belabor the point, but it's important for me to ask and for people to know where you stand. You clearly need to make major investments in T-Mobile USA to preserve the value of your asset. Tell me, how much money do you need to spend to stay competitive with AT&T now, Verizon, and Sprint?
In the past couple of years, our investment level was always in the vicinity of between $2.5 and $3 billion, sometimes even a bit more than $3 billion. If we, go into the future, the first thing we need to do is to enlarge our footprint, and we can use the 3G roaming agreement with AT&T, which gives us footprint up to 280 million pops, and that's a significant expansion of our 3G coverage. And then we'll use the spectrum in order to build out our networks with HSPA+. That's up to 42 megabit of access speed today. So that's also another opportunity. However, it doesn't resolve the long-term question as to how can we migrate into LTE. And there will be further investments needed. And, we will have to update you in due course about what our next steps are.
Rene,
as of
can you
today,
give us a sense?
We take the spectrum, continue to invest into building out the network. Last sentence, building out the network. And then we'll hopefully improve our competitiveness over the next couple of quarters.
Rene, clearly you have pointed out that the decision about going to LTE, 4G, full 4G effectively, is a big one. Can you put a price tag on that? Do you have any sense as to the billions of dollars or euros or however you choose to quantify it would be involved in that decision?
Look, the first and biggest challenge is really to expand and to improve our spectrum situation in the market. And, the current spectrum is not really good enough for a clear path into LTE. So we have to work on alternative solutions. Obviously, the combination with AT&T would have been a great solution for the market and to contribute to the national broadband agenda. And we thought it would have been so beneficial that it could have gotten approval. So it's disappointing to see it couldn't get approved. And we will work on alternatives, but it's too early to say anything more than that.
One last question for you, Rene. In retrospect, now that you look back on the transaction, how it evolved, what the Justice Department and the FCC had to say, would it have been better to cook up a deal with Sprint instead of AT&T because of the likelihood it would not have been opposed by the Justice Department, even if it would not have brought you as much return on your asset?
Well, we had looked, as we always said, we had looked at all the alternatives in the market, and the combination with AT&T to us and to AT&T and to the market would have been the best combination. We would have created network synergies, additional capacity, and a fast build-out of the LTE technology as a partner, or AT&T with us in a partnership. So that solution, unfortunately, is off the table. The other alternatives at the time didn't look nearly as attractive to all stakeholders, including the customers, including the US agenda, the National Broadband Plan. Unfortunately, that opinion wasn't shared, so this is what it is. And we have to take the proceeds now and move on and make the best out of the situation.
Well, you couldn't have put it better. It is what it is. We thank you for joining us, Rene Obermann, the CEO of Deutsche Telekom, here on the Inside Track.